That was a little bit of an insight on what we talk about in
Right.
production at Yes Network
Right.
in baseball. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about
Yeah.
baseball. And I wanted to thank you guys for coming to this class. Some of you guys might have to leave for your own classes, but I appreciate you taking the time out to come here and learn a little bit about production and live sports. I'm going to introduce to you a good friend of mine, Dan. You ready, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going.
Come on in. This
Yeah,
is
all right.
welcome
All right.
to Pace University, the IATSE Sports Production class. This is Dan Barr. Please welcome Dan Barr, director of the Yes Network Yankees. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
I just want to say, I don't think I'm featured enough in that piece. I'm just saying.
Oh, so did anybody spot him in that piece? We saw that he got a couple of shots in there. When did he shoot that one?
That was last summer at the stadium, last year Yankee Stadium.
All right. So you've been the director of the New York Yankees for how many years now?
This is my 6th year doing the Yankees, going into my 6th season. Before that, I was the Mets director for 3 years, and I was at SNY for 14 years, from the time that SNY launched up until I left after the 2019 season.
Well, we're on the grounds of Pace University. So let's go back to your college days. Where did you grow up? Where did you first get your idea of becoming into the sports industry?
So I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up in Palo Alto, California, just right next to Stanford University. And when I was in high school, I reached out to the sports director at the Stanford Student Station and just asked if I could come down and volunteer and learn. And he was nice enough to let me. So I'd go down there and I learned how they did that. And then I used that to get an internship with the Oakland A's in 2000 for their over-the-air station, KICU. And that was the first time I walked into a TV truck. That was the first time that I even learned that these jobs existed, right? So like I grew up an A's fan, and I watched the broadcast, but I didn't really know. Like I would notice things on the broadcast, but I didn't realize that that's a profession. Like that's a job. So when I walked into the truck for the first time and watched them do a game, I was kind of like, oh, this is what I want to do. Because like at first I thought I wanted to be like a play-by-play guy, like a lot of people want to do.
You kind of got the voice for it.
I do have the voice. It helps directing too. But so I saw the director, and you're doing play-by-play, but you're doing it in a visual TV language. So you're still doing the same thing that the play-by-play guy is doing. You're describing the game, but you're doing it in pictures, and you're doing it with like a TV language.
So your first exposure of actual production was actual baseball?
Was baseball. Yeah. I always wanted to be once I saw that job after that first day with KICU, I knew I wanted to be a baseball director. I got into this to do baseball because I wanted to go to the ballpark every day, more so than wanting just to do TV.
Being at the ballpark.
Yeah, I knew early on I was not going to be a Major League Baseball player, so I wanted to find another way to get to the ballpark every day. And so once I saw the TV thing, I knew I wanted to do that. I did other sports along the way. The path was a little not circuitous; it was a direct path, but worked on other sports. But the goal was always to direct baseball, and I'm very lucky in that. I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school, and I saw the job for the first time, and I could pinpoint like, oh, that's what I want to do. And that's half the battle, right? Like if you can identify something that you think, oh, that's the goal. I want to do that. It becomes easier because it's not so abstract. You can find a way to get to that.
So where did you take it from there? You went to school. What did you study?
So I went to the University of Oregon. I'm from the West Coast, as I said. I studied communication. Now, you guys have great facilities. A lot of schools now have great facilities, especially schools that are part of the big power conferences. There's a lot of TV production and stuff. When I was at Oregon, they didn't have that. It was more electronic media still and mass communication, print journalism, that kind of stuff. But they did have a good football team. So I was able to go through the athletic department and use my internship at KICU to get my foot in the door with ABC Sports. Because every time they would come to town to broadcast football, they would hire local college kids. And the networks still do this, and everybody still does this. To pick up announcers, to get water, all the cliche intern runner things, like get coffee, all that stuff. So I did that. I got my foot in the door being a runner with ABC Sports, and just did everything I could with it. Was proactive, was tried to be personable, just tried to said yes to everything. All those little tips. I did that, and then I was able to work my way up at ABC. This is when I'm 23. I'm working, this is after I was a runner. So after I went to college, I got a job at ABC as the second production assistant, okay? When I was a runner, I did all kinds of weird stuff. I did the wind graphic at the Women's British Open. I did the yellow line at a Stanford Notre Dame game, did a bunch of weird stuff, but I got a PA job at ABC. And that job was for 6 months. It was to work on college football on one package. And then when the season's over, they let go most of the production assistants. They keep 2 or 3. But if you can be one of the guys they keep on, then you pretty much got your foot in the door there. So I was the second production assistant. You're booking rental cars. It's the glorified runner spot. You're hiring runners. So here you are. You're like, I was 22 and you're hiring 21-year-olds, right? But like you're the production assistant. You're hiring the runners. And then the next year they promoted me to be the graphics coordinator, which is really the first job in the truck where you have some responsibility and can show the producers and directors and management what you have. So I was doing, this is me where I had already decided I was going to go to SNY was launched. So after ABC Sports, I got asked to go over to SNY hadn't launched yet. SNY was launching the next year, 2006. And the executive they brought over was from ABC. And he asked if I wanted to go over and be the graphics coordinator, the job I had at ABC. And as they said, I always wanted to direct baseball. And I'm like, well, it's a no-brainer. So that was before the college football season even started. So here I am doing graphics for ABC, but I knew I was going to go to SNY because I'm wearing my Mets hat.
So you were real happy?
Yeah.
But how did you from the West Coast, work an East Coast gig from SNY?
Well, so I was from the West Coast, but I moved to New York when I got the PA job at ABC. And that for me, a lot of you guys are probably from around here and stuff. But like when I was a runner for these production assistants at ABC and they're in their 20s, they lived in Manhattan. I thought it was the coolest thing. I was in Eugene, Oregon. I'm like, I thought that was as cool as the actual job. I was like, I want to go to New York. I want to move to New York. I want to live in the city. Like you travel every Thursday to some college town in middle America. You come back, you have the week, you do it all over again. I thought the lifestyle looked as cool to me as anything. So I moved to New York when I got the job at ABC, and that was 22 years ago now. So I guess I'm a New Yorker now.
So then so that you didn't start directing yet. So you haven't, when did you make the move to direct?
So let me just give you, so there's 2 paths. I don't know how much you guys know about the industry and this and that, but there's really 2 different paths if you want to be a sports director. There's the technical side, and then there's the production side. The technical side is if you're a TD, you work your way to become a technical director. That's the person that sits at the switcher and hits all the buttons and translate my vocal commands into actual cuts and things like that. A lot of TDs go on to become directors. I went on the production side, which is you work with the producers, directors, on-air talent. You start as a font coordinator, which is the graphics producer. And then if you move up from there, you become like the tape producer or associate producer, associate director, different names. And that's really where you can learn the nuts and bolts of how the broadcast gets on the air. Like if you're the graphics coordinator, you're kind of just trying to survive, make sure all your graphics are correct, your stats are correct. If you get the opportunity to move up, that's where you learn like this camera goes there, they call it this, the tape machine is that, really the nuts and bolts of it. So I went to SNY as the graphics coordinator. After 2 years, I became the associate director. After 2 years, the next year I became the fill-in producer. And a lot of people, once you become the AD or the tape producer, you have a choice. That's basically where people are like, do you want to be a director or do you want to be a producer? I knew I wanted to be a director. So I was lucky enough to have a good mentor at SNY who I learned a lot from. And I started filling in for him in 2010. So I was 27 years old. That is this guy here. That's Bill Webb. A lot of people think he was the best baseball director ever. He did all the Yankees, Red Sox World Series, he worked at Fox for years. And part of the reason when I went to SNY, I was like, I want to get him to teach me how to direct baseball. And one of the great things about the business, and Webby was a great mentor. I picked his brain a lot. He gave me opportunities. But one thing, regardless, even if you don't have somebody who's willing to do that, if you can get yourself into the truck, nobody can take that time away from you. You can take that time and watch and learn from somebody, whether they want to help you or not. So when I was the associate director, I knew I wanted to be a director. So I spent like a week when I was in tape where I like just watched camera 1. Just what does camera 1 do for Webby for like a week? And then what does camera 2 do, right? So the point being, if you can work yourself into that entry-level position, a runner, then a font coordinator, if you pay attention to the jobs around you, that doesn't require any special treatment or any special mentor necessarily. Nice to have. I was lucky to have that. But if you're in the room, then it's up to you to decide how much you want to learn. because you can learn it all just from watching it.
Well, you said yourself that you didn't realize all these jobs, like this is the shout of the crew of the, for every
So this
season.
is this is the end of last, season. That's Troy, our producer. And it's important to say, it is obviously a collaborative thing, right? The director is no good if the TD is no good, right? You need them to go. All right, if you're next door, you can leave.
No offense, but you don't
Yeah.
get the food. Come back for the food after, guys. If you guys are so hungry, we'll save you guys. But I appreciate you guys coming. I'll let you guys get the link on this if we put it when we put it out, okay? Appreciate you guys
So
coming.
yeah, it obviously takes a lot of people. You need good camera guy. You need good everybody, really. But it really takes a lot of people, and a lot of directors get a lot of credit. And sometimes they should, but a lot of the time the credit should really be shared with everybody. And that's not just like, oh, it's a nice thing to say and it's a team effort. It's true. If the shots aren't there, they're not there. You can't, as the director, you can talk until you're blue in the face, but it won't solve anything, as you know.
I showed them the clip.
That's not me.
No, that's not you. Wait.
That's not me.
I hate this TikTok shit. God damn. I lost the clip already, damn it. I have to find it after. But there was only one clip I found of you doing directing anything. I gotta find. But I won't have it now, so forget it. But let me ask you. So when you finally got the chance you started as a graphics coordinator, and then you made the move to
tape producer,
to tape producer. How did you learn to even do those jobs? Because those are totally so different. I mean, you weren't afraid that if I make the move to that job, you kind of wanted to get to directorship, or were you afraid that did you know you had to go through those?
I did know. So I was always pretty good at, and I think this is helpful for people too. Like, obviously the cliche, do whatever job you have the best you can do it. Like when I was a runner, you want to be proactive. You want to be personable. Like I was just saying to Hardy earlier, we've had a lot of runners and interns over the years. It's surprising to me how rare it is to have somebody come up and go, "Hi, I'm Joe. Like, nice to meet you. Like, I'm happy to be here." That's important. Do that kind of stuff. But then identify what the next job is. Like, and that's not to say ignore your current job, but it's important to get comfortable in that, then identify what the next one is, and then you can already start to learn it. I was lucky. The guy who was the AD who left, he gave me some hints, and usually people will help you out and stuff. But there you can also really rely on the crew. I mean, these production roles where you're kind of managing the tech crew, you rely on them. Like some production people kind of like, you don't want to be dismissive of the tech crew. They're the people actually doing it and physically running replays. So I leaned on them a lot, like the tape guys. I learned from them. But it's also the way I describe it is when you're the graphics coordinator on a baseball telecast, you're like the catcher. You're in every pitch. You have to pay attention to every pitch, and it's not sexy. You're putting up batting averages. You're putting up every graphic. It is not exciting. When you're the tape AD, it's the same thing. You're listening to the announcers. You're trying to sell replay packages, or, oh, they're talking about this thing that happened a long time ago. I have that video package. I have this clip. You get to be more like the center fielder, and that, like, you don't have to be in every play. But sometimes you get like that diving catch where you pull that clip out and everybody's like, "Oh, how'd you have that?" And it's a little more like you get more like accolades and credit for that kind of like occasional stuff rather than the like being in every single pitch. But so I learned from the tape guys and from the guy who was before me. But you got to just say yes and then assume you're going to figure it out. I mean, they're tough jobs, directing, especially as you get higher up. They're more difficult, but none of it's like rocket science. And like, you have confidence in yourself and you say yes, and then you say, "I'll figure it out."
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about each craft, I always tell the students that, we're storytellers. So what you have to do is figure out how you can tell your story with what you're doing. Like when you were saying, as a graphics coordinator, as a photographer, it's not a glorious job. It's boring as hell. But every once in a while, you come up with like a tidbit or a good factoid or something that comes in where it becomes part of the story. You recognize that, especially in baseball, stats matter like ridiculously in baseball. So when a streak comes up or something comes up in that manner, and you're able to contribute, that's when you get the accolades for paying attention to that thing and selling something, right?
Yeah, listening and selling stuff. Now, this is a good illustration of the producer-director divide because I don't like graphics. As a director, they just get in the way. I think there's a lot of them have too much writing on them. I understand their value. I understand. Producers are the editorial content side of it. They're more into the graphics world. Once I moved on from graphics, my experience as the director is it ready to go in? And that's pretty much all I care about. I mean, obviously you'll see if it's of a specific player, you'll shoot them or that, but yeah.
When you went to going to become the AD, right? You haven't got to the director. AD is handling replays and working with the tape machines and everything like that, right? So now you had to switch hats from graphics and worrying about the stats to actually paying more attention
That's
to
the TV side of it. So like the AD, as important as the in-game stuff is, and it is, at least on like regional baseball television where you're traveling with the team every day, the AD is the person that gets to the truck the earliest with the rest of the crew. You talk to each department. You go to the technical director and you say, here's a list of the elements the director's gonna want. You set up the entire truck so that when the producer and director walk in, it's good to go. And I told our current AD, I said, you make it so my life is easy, so the TD doesn't ask me a question, so the monitor wall is set up perfectly, then I will teach you and give you chances to direct. But you need to do that part first. So that's why I was saying before, the AD job is where you really learn the nuts and bolts of the TV. You're there first, you're answering a lot of questions. The audio guy comes up to you, what music cut do you guys use for this? Oh, you show him that. And then the video guy is like, oh, the camera list says camera 6 is here, but we usually put it here. Where do we put it? You answer all those kinds of questions. So the AD, the in-game stuff is important. You're listening, you're managing the archive of the clips, you're filling hard drives with baseball highlights, you're managing the archive, you're making sure every tape guy is recording the right thing at the right time. But the job is really almost as much about getting everything set up as it is the replays and that kind of stuff.
So we talked before we did this, and I asked you to send me some pictures and your career notes, and you sent me a note that is the best note. It gives me pretty much your career path.
Yeah.
2000 intern, 2001 official stats at the local station, 2002 doing talent stats, 2001 a runner, 2002 first and 10 line, 2003 computer stats, 2004 production assistant, 2005 lead production assistant, 2006 associate producer, 2008 associate director, 2009 contributing producer, 2010 is when you first start to direct, right?
Yeah.
So you put 10 years of putting on a bunch of different hats to finally make it to that director.
Yeah, and some of those jobs were one day. I mean, not all of those are several years, right? Official stats is where on college basketball you sit next to the official stats person that puts them into the computer and everything. And if the truck has a question, you answer. Talent stats, you sit next to the announcer and you give them runs. It's an 8 to 10, 10-4 run or whatever. You wouldn't do 10-4, but a run. So yeah, the reason I sent that to Hardy is because I wanted to illustrate how there are, yes, as I said, there's the technical path and the production path, right? AD or TD. That said, there's a lot of different ways to get to those. And that's also a good example of what I said before. Just say yes. I didn't know what a talent stats person was supposed to do for college basketball, but I sat courtside at a Stanford game. Ted Robinson was the announcer. Again, I said, hi, I'm Dan. I've never done this. Tell me what you want. Like, be a person about it. And that, I think, gets you a little leeway with them. They're not expecting a ton. They know you're kind of new. And then just gave it my best with a smile on my face. And then you get the next opportunity because of that. It's kind of a cliche, but I think that career list there illustrates that it has some truth to it.
It's just that all these different hats, then you start directing, and you got the chance to fill in direct behind Webb, and then Webb goes on to do other stuff. You take over as lead director. How many seasons did you do of that?
So Webby got sick, unfortunately. So I had the title for 3 years, but 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, I basically did most of the Mets games. I did over 100 games in 2015. That was my first year really doing. I did more than 100 games. So that's the other thing about doing regional baseball. That's my experience. If you did a weekly football game for Fox, this would probably be a slightly different conversation. Some of the basics are the same, but one of the things about doing baseball on this level is you are there every day. You get a lot of chances to get comfortable on the air. Like, I was nervous at first, but you do so many games that you just get used to it. You just get used to being on the air. Where when you did I remember when I was doing college football, I mean, as a graphics guy, I'd get all like amped up at noon on Saturday. I can only imagine the producers and directors, right? But so baseball, you do it every day. You're there every day. There's a little less research because you're around the team every day. You don't have to research it. If you had a new team every week, you'd spend the week on conference calls with coaches, different interviews, things like that. When you're there every day, there's kind of less research to do because it's just in you. You're just there. You're just part of it. But yeah, I did a lot of games.
So, when you're on with the both production teams, do you always travel with the team?
Yeah, both have the same setup. Most productions travel with the team and stuff, and that's a fun part of it too. I mean, look, I'll pitch to you guys how cool these jobs are. Whether you're in my chair, and you're traveling around with the Yankees or the Mets, or if you're like a camera guy at Yankee Stadium, that's a cool job. These are cool jobs. Like they're fun. Like we put a lot of work in. We do a really good job, but I get along great with the producer. I get along great with the AD and stuff, and we legitimately have a good time. Like if you take it seriously and you do a good job, you can make it to where there are nights we walk out of there and you feel like you were just hanging out with your buddies.
That's your production team.
So this is our producer, Troy. This is the guy, this is our boss. He retired. This is John J. Filippelli. He brought me over to Yes.
He was in the video. He was the guy who helped start the Yes Network.
He started Yes Network. He was like an Olympic. He produced World Series. He was like a legend in the business. He brought me over to Yes. But you know, they're cool jobs. They're fun. They can be fun. They can be stressful, but only if you let them.
That's your production team now?
So yeah, so this is Troy. That's Luke, our AD. Sean was our graphics guy. He left. This is the last day of the season, the day before Aaron Judge hit his 62nd home run in the first inning of the second game of a doubleheader. And we went out pretty hard that night. So this is us at the end of a long season there. But
that was, wait, what'd you say that was?
2022?
And that was the Judge 62?
Yeah, I don't love 62. I like 61 better. See, the thing too is I think it's important to be a good director. I am my own like harshest critic, and I really don't like watching my own stuff back. Like I could nitpick every clip. This is 61, so this one I like. We got lucky. That's a bad cut. That's his mom. That's Roger Maris's kid.
You had a movie?
This was so we're on the road. Toronto has a lot of equipment that they share with us.
So you were taking that feed?
Yeah. It rolled focus there. That's why I don't like that thing. So the reason we got what I like about this, as much as the line cut I think was good, they made a pitching change right after this, when we didn't take the break. So we got to unload every single angle that we had. So sometimes like 62 I don't like, because we had decided in advance, no matter what, like whoever's up next, it doesn't matter. There's nothing on the line for the season. We're just going to show the replays and we're not going to show the at-bat. And Michael in the middle of the replays said like, strike one to so-and-so or whatever. But here we got lucky because they made a pitching change. So we get to then go through and unload every single tape machine that we had, which made it a good moment. So, and I like the cuts here because, other than the first one, because I don't think I cut too much. I think a lot of directors, I think it's easy to overcut. A lot of good shots on your monitor wall become eye candy. Like, that's a good shot. That's a good shot.
That's
you
the
gotta
good
really, I wasn't going to go back to them, but then they hugged and you don't want to cut too much. And you also don't want to cut, like, as much as, if there's a shot that you don't take, you could always replay it off tape. I don't get mad if I see a shot on the wall that I don't take. I get mad when I cut off a camera, right, where's the pitching change? I guess it's after the next at bat. I get upset with myself when you're on a good shot and you cut off it, because you shouldn't just be like, if you're spending your whole time being like, what's my next shot? What's my next shot? And you're not conscious of the shot that's on the line, then you're not doing a good job. Like, my biggest frustration is when I cut off a shot and something good happens right after I get off it. Because it's like, well, where are you going? Like, what is the rush there? So slow, don't rush off shots, make sure the shots read, But can you skip ahead of the replay sequence? Is it on there? I don't know if it's on there.
Yeah, let me see. It might be. Yeah, here it is. Here.
See, I misremembered. I guess it wasn't right after that.
Not this one. At a little top spin.
Yep.
So this is good. I like this framing we started doing with Judge at Yankee Stadium. And at Yankee Stadium, it's great. We put a Supermo at low third to get a lot of crowd. And at Yankee Stadium, they get up. And the good thing about this is you can run it slow or you can run it in real time, and it's a good replay either way. So you get two replays out of the same shot, really. So this is real time. You want to hear the back crack. Webby would always say to cue these 3 seconds before the reaction. So the anticipation build. You don't want to cue it just to there. You want the anticipation to build a little bit.
So did
They
you?
didn't roll it.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
Tape
guy there.
Do you see that? Hear what he just said? That's a mistake. The tape guy rolled it. Didn't roll it in time. So he did
Started on the freeze there. They weren't listening to me, and we got to the machine. And they were on a freeze. It's not as good as I remembered it. This is why I don't like watching stuff back. The only reason we did that one is because everybody's making such a big deal out of who caught the baseball, because a fan could sell it for a lot. So we did that replay just to show it landed in the bullpen. So people weren't like, oh, yes,
who got the
relief, right. Oh, yes, never showed who got it, you know. So you get the idea. But so we got lucky there too, because so when you do regional baseball, when you travel around, you collaborate with the home show. Like the home team is referred to as the home show, the away team is the away show. The home team usually has more resources. Toronto has a lot of resources because they're a national broadcast. In Canada, that's all they have. Their director's really nice too. And so one thing that we were able to do is I watch all the feeds that we're sharing. And even though I won't cut them in live, we'll record them. And then I can take my cameras and make sure we're not redundant on any shots. Like if I see what they're shooting, I can go, oh, okay, that means this camera is freed up to maybe isolate Anthony Rizzo or his mom or whatever it is. So some teams don't have a lot of stuff. We also got lucky being in Toronto, where the Blue Jays have a lot of equipment.
So when you have an anticipation of a historic moment, did you go through a camera meeting with I know you tend to like to.
So Judge, the Aaron Judge, I think we did the math on it. He took a long time to hit 60, 61, and 62. So when we were setting up for 60, 61, and 62, I wrote out, and I rarely do this, but I literally wrote out, okay, camera one's going to be on this shot, camera two is going to be on this shot, camera three is going to be on this, all the ISOs, all this stuff. And I think it was like 70 plate appearances or something crazy for where we set up for 60, 61, and 62, where it was like a quarter of his plate appearances for the season almost. Some crazy number where we set up the ISOs for that moment like over 50 times. So for something like that, I do try to plan it ahead. Like I did David Wright's last game when I was at SNY, and that was a big deal because they like told us when he was going to come out of the game, and we were allowed to have cameras on the field, and we were allowed to have cameras in the tunnel between the dugout and the clubhouse, and really get those intimate moments. That was another one where I kind of like went through it ahead of time and like wrote it all out. But generally, I don't.
I think I got that one too. Let's see.
So yeah, camera on the field here. You're burning or something.
What's that dissolve thing in there? That's a weird dissolving
seat tab there. It's a weird effect. That's a effect.
That's a weird. I don't know. That's on there for some other weird reason. But this was a.
So it's a combination. You want to have a plan, and you also want to react. There's a lot of reacting. We go into the games at Yankee Stadium where everybody has a camera assignment. Baseball is a difficult sport to direct because every other sport, pretty much, not every, but most, you're following the ball. It's going left to right. The ball does the scoring, right? The puck goes in the goal or the ball goes in the hoop. Baseball, you're cutting during the action. The ball is in one place and the scoring is in another place. So, and everybody's camera guys' assignments change based on how many runners are on. So if there's one runner on, some guy's shooting something. If there's two guys on, bases loaded. So the assignment's constantly changing. So the camera guys, we go over that plan to like know where they're supposed to be for the action. But you also need guys who like are camera guys and women who like use their eye and sell you shots. And you want to plan, but you want flexibility. And you want to be able to react.
I'm trying to find. I have the a camera plot from the Yankees. I wanted to show because speaking of how many different, how do you choose? I mean, certain cameras are in always the same positions. How do you decide where?
So there's some standard for like camera positions in baseball. Low third, low first, by the bases, high third, high first, high home is your main game camera when the ball's hit. Center field, tight center. Sometimes I have three in center field. Sometimes the foul pole. There are standard positions. The outfield positions are where you usually can, like when we add cameras, I sort of add in the outfield. Like the end of last year, we started doing 3 cameras in center field. So it's that tight shot of the baseball going in from the pitch. But sometimes we mix it up because we're bored, because we do so many games. Sometimes we'll put a camera at the right field foul pole because there's somebody on the opposing team that we want to highlight, and it's a nice shot in the dugout. Sometimes when Soto was on the Yankees, I would put a camera at the left field foul pole more because we got this great shot that I liked where instead of following the baseball, Soto's lefty and Judge was on deck behind him. So it's this really cool 2-shot where Soto and Judge are both in frame, kind of a way shot. And when Soto parks one, the camera just pushes into Judge and you get his react. So things like that.
So how do you, I mean, I'm always curious about how you determine that, because you see here, this is what you have to deal with, right? So
Yeah.
you work in a Yankee Stadium. These are the only choices you have where you can put cameras, right? There you have a certain amount. Now, this year, you used to have at low first, you would have camera 5, and you would have another camera there, an Exmo.
Mm-hmm.
You don't longer have that camera this year, right? What happened?
Budget.
So the Exmo camera was a high-speed frame.
It's called the Phantom camera. It's an ultra-high frame rate camera. It was really cool. We used it in a lot of stuff. But that said, like, the most important thing, this is going to sound so obvious, but like the most important thing when you're doing a game is to cover the game, okay? So things like the ultra-high frame rate cameras, they're nice. They're great, but like they're not as important as the X's and O's. So if management comes to us and was like, hey, we got to lose a camera, that was kind of the first thing to go, because it's nice, but it's not like a game necessary camera. I like to say you're shooting for 3 things. You're shooting for the line cut, which is the live, ready to take 2, what people are seeing. You're shooting for replays. Like there's some cameras that frame the shots before the pitch that you would never cut in live, since it's like on the third baseman, but that's going to be a great replay. And then you're also shooting for like teases, promos, bumps, that kind of specialty sexy stuff. And that's where the Phantom camera is. It's kind of in that third category. And you really got to focus on the first 2. You know, so it is unfortunate. That said, we're still very lucky. We have 1, 2, 3, 5 super slow-mos. You know, we still have a lot of resources.
Yankees and the Dodgers are probably the 2 biggest.
Yeah. That's why we had 8 hard cameras. I think they still do. At Yankees, we have 8 half the time now. It used to be 9 all the time. It's 9 for half of them. We have more robotic cameras at Yankee Stadium, which are cool because they can be, as Vinny said in the clip he played, you can put them in places that camera guys can't necessarily stand. We have 2 low behind the plate, and it's 1 operator, and like he'll work back and forth if it's a righty or a lefty batter. So we do have more.
And that was a change. You made that change.
That was a change too, but that was also a necessity because of budget issues. So we used to have 1 behind the plate, but we also used to have 1 at the inside in the dugout for like Aaron Judge, high strike, low strike. But we went down to robo operators. So the creative solution was to put 2 behind the plate and then have them work back and forth. So you have 2 cameras, 1 operator. You can kind of still get a lot out of it.
And get more out of it in that respect.
Yeah, I do miss that camera though inside the dugout.
How, as the director, like it's, you know, with baseball season, it's already happening in spring training. When do you start getting involved? When do you start getting meetings?
So we start, we have a meeting in like November, December, which is a sort of generic stuff. But we're fully into the crewing right now. So we have to, so the thing about doing baseball every day is we need a big staff. I mean, you saw the picture of the people there. Those are just the guys that are there that day, right? There's a lot of people that work on the shows that weren't there that day. I mean, I think over the course of the season, we probably use how many camera guys? Because like other guys go to work football, they work Mets, whatever it is. So like crewing the entire season. We have a department at Yes, they do a great job with that. But
here's most of your camera.
So here's some of the camera guys. Here's some of the core camera guys.
Yeah.
But like, so these guys can't be there every day. So like right now we're going through.
There's you and yeah, that's Petey.
That's me and Steve Gelbs. There's Petey.
Yeah. He's one of our long time.
He's the handheld guy. So if you see a maniac running around the field like a nut job, that's Pete. And he's got such a great personality that the team kind of just assumes he's allowed to be wherever he is. So like we don't really ask permission. He just sort of goes and does the thing. But so right now we're working on crewing. Like I'll talk to our ops people. They'll be like, hey, this is a rough week. The example now is US Open week, where the US Open is in Flushing. The Mets are home and the Yankees are home. I don't know why the league does that. When I was with the Mets, I feel like we were gone a lot of the time. In August. It's brutal because people started to do football.
Just text me before we
exactly
start.
Right. So that's what I'm doing this afternoon, right? Trying to fill those holes, trying to get creative, trying to horse trade maybe, just trying to figure that out.
Let's talk about that. I'm one of your fill-in guys. I'm not one of the core guys on this show. I get the opportunity to fill in, and I love the opportunity to work with you and get better at it, because I honestly, baseball to me has been the most challenging to me personally, because I know with me, my attention span for certain sports, like, and the fact that when you work on different jobs, you kind of know where you're going to be put. With baseball, I'm more of a utility camera guy.
You
So
could be anywhere. Yeah.
yeah, I'll do a robo for
Yeah.
you. You probably have put me on 4 or 5 different cameras,
Yeah.
hard cameras on any different night. And it's good to do it. I keep a note on my phone for all the assignments.
Right.
And I don't have any notes for any other sport but
You need it. Yeah.
but baseball, because for every different camera, there are different assignments for each camera.
And that's if anybody becomes a camera person or whatever, always go in to the director, okay, and say, hey, let's go over the assignment. Even if you're sure you know it, that buys you a lot of goodwill. If guys come in and say, hey, can we go over the assignment? And I say, sure. If they make a mistake in game, whatever, and I'm not talking an out of focus mistake, like being in the wrong place, right? If you don't, if you're like, nah, I'm good, okay, you better get it all right then. But one of the challenges of doing this every day is the days we have the A crew there, the best camera guys, the best thing, right? I walk in and I go, I'm not working today. I'm picking shots, right? You're not directing, you're picking shots. Those days are fun, they're easy, the show looks great. When we have like other crews and fill-in guys and different people, it becomes a puzzle. And that's where, as a director doing it at this level, you have to know everybody's strength. And it's a puzzle on where to assign. All right, this guy's going to do that camera, so this person's going to do that camera. And some of the most satisfying days to me are when I walk out and we had a good broadcast or a decent broadcast, and it was not your normal crew. And like, I feel like I put everybody in a good spot. Like, nobody would ever see that at home. Like, those are the days, like when we have the A guys there, it's going to be a good show. Yeah, and that's great. Well, but like when you have a good show because you put people in the right position, that's satisfying. That's a challenge. It's hard to do.
I want to go through some of my notes, see if you have anything. I named my notes say
Bill runner on 5.
Bill Webb camera sign, because Bill Webb was the first guy.
That's who I learned from, and I have his number.
Like we mentioned him earlier, he was a Hall of Fame director. He was a protege to many directors and to many cameramen. But he was tough. He was tough, and you can be tough.
I'm not as tough as Webby though.
No. But so all right. So camera 1, low third, righty pitcher, lefty batter, ball in play, offensive or defensive hero. After a base hit, get hitter on base. If first baseman holds runner on, set for pickoff. Ball in right field corner, go get it. Dugout, second trail runner. If on base, score them. Walk off pitcher your sides and out batters. So those are all notes knowing where that position is. See the last note, walk off pitcher on your side or out batter. So I knew I'm low third, so that means the visiting coming towards me. I would have to get up. So that would be for that camera. Camera 2, high home. I never have ever.
You're not going to do high home. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the first live cut.
That's the hardest. I
don't know if it's the hardest.
I don't know if it's the hardest either, but it's so that guy is usually in the booth with the announcers. So they also have to be personable. There's a lot of like dog and pony shows that come in. I'm not saying you're not. There's other layers to that one. But that is the camera that's on the air when the ball's in play.
Right. Yeah. And you have to be ready for anything, because the baseball anything
can have it on any pitch.
Yeah.
That's a baseball cliche. That is true too, man. The second you let your guard down on something, but I always joke that the thing that I hate the most is a triple in the corner on like the leadoff batter of a first game in a road city, because like there's like 5 cuts in there, and it's new guys, you don't have the strengths, like that's talk about that. So you have a 5 cut sequence specifically in your head for a ball that goes down the right field line. Why? Because you have to. Because 2 will lose the ball in the corner in a lot of places.
So 2 will lose the corner, so that you have to have a backup. So you're giving it to another camera guy.
High camera,
assignment.
Yeah.
Then you have to have another camera guy making sure that he's on the
runner. And I don't like to be on high first or high third when the ball's coming back in. So I try to time the cut to the runner right after the fielder fields the ball from high first or high third, and then cut to a runner, so then you can get back to 2 for the ball coming on.
Now, figuring out that type of timing.
Yeah.
How do you, like in those sequences, to make sure that you're cutting when the throw to the thing? How do you figure that out? You're looking at. Because are you looking at 2 different things at the time to look at 2 different things?
You're looking at like 4 things at the same time.
Or are you trusting that it's going to be?
You got to look. Your eye it becomes muscle memory, where like something will happen and your eye will go to the right monitor and you don't even realize it. So like if I see a ball going towards the corner, my eye automatically starts looking at high third. But generally, what you want to do is you want to be on the high camera until the fielder fields the ball, because the outfielders bobble the ball more than you would think. And then once he fields it cleanly, Then you come back to the runner to show where they are. Are they going for the extra base or are they not? And then you go back to camera 2 for the conclusion of the play. In theory, doesn't always work out that way.
In theory.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to show you talked about another highlight that you enjoyed, and I wanted to show it because you said the German hit, right?
The Herman.
Herman.
Perfect game.
Perfect game.
I like that because it was, as I said, I grew up an A's fan and it was in Oakland. So for me, it was kind of full circle. And I think it's a weird perfect game that he's like disappeared now. Like,
If I could find a way to stop these ads on this it'd be great. There we go.
the perfect. This is fun. No hitters in the perfect game are fun. As much as the last out is fun, the buildup is what's fun, right? You show the nervous infielders they don't want to make an error. We kept changing the bug to show the RHE that there was no hit. Little things like that. We'd shoot him a lot between innings. Show that nobody's sitting near him on the bench. Things like that.
I don't know why I get this weird look at him.
Yeah. So I should have cut high here. But Flip told me I was nuts for criticizing myself on that. Again, trying not to cut too much. Let the shot breathe. Now the A's have their hand held out there. But you're really trying not to lose his face too much. Sometimes directors will get caught on the handheld because it's close, and I used to do that more. But you want to try, when you get a clean shot from up high, you really want to see the face, you know? This is also fun because it's just classic baseball. Like, you never know what's going to happen on a random weeknight in Oakland, right? Guy will throw a perfect game.
That's got to be pretty cool to you to be part of.
Oh yeah, the only thing more rare than that is a 4-homer game. I want a 4-homer game, but
have you had a 4-homer
no.
game?
There's more perfect games than 4-homer games. Yeah, that's fun doing stuff like that. That's the A's speed of it now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, do you criticize their feet?
No. They got more cameras at the home show.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the Domingo Herman. I also like doing Bartolo. I don't know if you guys Mets fans or whatever a while ago. Bartolo Colon, he's a big rotunda pitcher. He hit a home run in San Diego, and that was a fun.
I think I had that one too.
Fun moment. I can criticize something in that too, though.
Why is this thing now? Stupid ass thing.
That he's grinning there. Big Mets contingent. They're filing out of the dugout.
And
then I was going to go back to it, and this is where the high first guy messes up a little bit. So I want to show that the dugout's empty. He didn't know what to do there. And I'm like, no, I'm showing that it's empty.
Yeah.
This is just so absurd, you know?
Yeah, one of the biggest.
I mean, I don't know if it was one of the great moments in the history of baseball, as Gary says there, but... And then these guys all filing up. So moments like that are fun, but you never know when they're going to happen. Home runs in general are boring to cut because nothing really to do. Just the guy going around. Ones like that are fun, but Webby used to say the home run's the most boring thing to cut.
In sports?
In baseball.
Yeah.
Basketball could be pretty fun.
I mean, don't you feel like with baseball too, like, well, it's better now because of the clock and everything else, but the lulls of baseball make it difficult because you have to fill so much space and you know, sometimes I laugh because, you know, we're taught to follow the announcers. Like that's one of the assignments. When the announcers talk about something, you got to try to give them pictures to back that stuff up. But in baseball, you got Paul O'Neill. He could say some crazy things, and like, you know, you like, how do you back up some things? You know,
you try to be funny too. You can't always do it. Baseball does have a lot of opportunities for that. But so like so at SNY they had the 3 E's. Okay, this is what they like to preach at SNY. I'm not criticizing it. I liked it. What they try to do with the philosophies is the 3 E's: entertain, educate, and enlighten. Okay, that's their philosophy. At Yes Network, Filippelli had the 3 S's, okay? Stars, strategy, and storylines, right? So I find the 3 S's to be a more tangible thing to fall back on in those situations. If you don't know what to cut, if it's boring, if it's between pitches or whatever, you can usually fall back on stars, okay? Who are the stars in the game? Is it, that's not always the case, but you got Judge at least. Strategy, right? It's baseball. There's always, unless it's 20-2, even then, is a position player going to pitch, right? Strategy, and then storylines. And that's what I was saying earlier about being there every day and like knowing what's going on with the team. So like you can't always fall back on those, but it's actually a pretty tangible, rather than just a philosophical thing that you can fall back on when you're trying to think of like, oh, what the hell should I show now? And you can't always do it. It is baseball, right? A lot of the times there is like on deck batters, defense, guys warming up. There is a lot of stuff you can show. I'd be lying if I, didn't say you get these games that are like a getaway day in Texas and a day game and it's your 10th game of the trip and like it's boring and it's 8-1. You do your best, but like you're not always going to find the most magical shots there.
So, but during your transition from directing at SNY and you made the move to Yes Network, you didn't make the move right away to the Yankees. You ended up doing a season.
I did 1 season of Nets, Brooklyn
of
Nets.
NBA.
Yeah.
So how was that for you? How was jumping from baseball into the NBA?
I thought it was fun. The NBA basketball is an easier sport to direct, as I was saying before. You're not cutting during the action. You're on a game camera and you're just going back and forth. I thought the most interesting part to me was the rhythm of the season. Like baseball, you can unpack your suitcase, right? You're there for 3 days. The NBA, it was much more like a concert tour almost, because you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, and every day's a setup day. So some of the days in the truck are long. It's not as easy as baseball. The first day is a little bumpy, but then you're there for the other ones. So to me, like less about the cutting the cameras. Like it was basketball. I had done college basketball. It is what it is. I found the lifestyle part of it to be interesting, different for me.
More difficult to then manage?
Yeah, I think a little more difficult because you have fewer days, but like there's a little more boredom on the road. Like when you're directing baseball, like we have a very good support staff. So like I really can't get there too early. If I get there too early because I'm bored and like you're in the way of them setting things up. So it's a fine line. So like the boredom on the road sometimes happens, but basketball, you have a lot of time to kill because a lot of times you're traveling on the off day. But you're in San Antonio, you like do a game, right? And then instead of getting out of there, sometimes you get out of there, but you go back to the hotel and then they'd be like, all right, bus at 3 o'clock tomorrow. And you're like, okay, and then you get into the next town at a reasonable hour. It's not 4 a.m. And then it's like, all right, I guess you have a dinner. Like the lifestyle part of it, I found more interesting.
So with baseball, spending more time in the cities for the home stand, for each stand.
Yeah, you're just there a little longer. There's room for improvement. Like day one in a new city is rarely going to be great, but all you can ask and all you can hope for is that it gets a little better each day. Basketball, you don't have that. I mean, you're doing your one. You're leaving.
Do you have is there a game day routine that you kind of have?
Not really. I mean, I like to go to the gym late after everybody's cleared out. I joke that me and the traveling secretary are the last 2 guys out. Like sometimes on the last day of a trip, when the entire team is out, they'll even sometimes come and like knock on my door because they think I forgot to check out or whatever. And I'm like, no, I promise I will leave. I can't leave yet. I mean, this is gonna be my 20th baseball season. So like I've done all the museums, all the whatever, but like
did you used to do that?
I tried to, yeah.
I did too, because
I like that part of it. I mean, you're traveling around the country, you have the expense account. These, like I was saying before, these are cool jobs. These are fun jobs, right?
Well, you got to make the most of it. I traveled a lot in my career too, and I always made sure that I wanted to see more than just hotel, venue, and airport. There are cities that you're going to.
There are cities that like you definitely will just do that.
Yeah,
but there are some where it's like
I know. Nobody.
You can probably guess them.
Yeah, some of these cities. Some cities aren't.
Some are rough. Some are a little rough.
Some aren't great, but you know what? You try to find something in the people in the city to I always like to where do the I like because I used to do a lot of the E&G stuff. You don't get that with baseball as much. When I used to do football, when we were in different cities, they would send the E&G guy out to shoot scenic shots of the city, and they would leave it up to me, and they would say,
one of my jobs as a runner when I was doing college football would be to go with the E&G guy and then tell them and write down what they're shooting so that you could then put them on little cards. So when Brett Musburger sees the shot of the quad, he has a little card and you wrote that information out.
Yeah.
We don't do that as much as baseball. A lot of that stuff has kind of gone by the wayside. Like there's canned scenics in every city and stuff, but I still like the lifestyle. It's a little tougher when you get older, but like guys who do regional baseball and who are there every day really take pride in like the 162. Like, because any other sport you do, you're not doing that many games. And so there is a little bit of pride, I think. Like when I talk to other like producers and directors from around the country and stuff, there's like a road warrior mentality to it. And like the nights, like, so we'll fly home after, like, with the Yankees especially, there's a lot of games where the home team will schedule a night game on the getaway day because the Yankees are their biggest draw of the season. That means we're landing like, so like Houston last year, you're losing the time zone also. You're landing at like 3 or 4 in the morning. So you're walking in the door at 4:35 in the morning sometimes, which can be tough. But I've also found that those moments where everybody's tired on the bus and stuff, that's where you really bond with like the people you work with. You know, when you're all stumbling into the hotel tired, you know, at 4 in the morning in Toronto or whatever it is. So because you're all in it together.
Do you guys then, it's like, is that all-star break something that's like,
the All-Star break? Yeah, I always take a lot of time around the All-Star break. Like, yeah, the All-Star break's nice, but we're lucky with the Yankees. So the national networks can take up to 17 games from any team: Fox, ESPN, Apple, which is MLB, now Netflix took opening day. So Yankees are guaranteed to lose those 17 games. If you're doing the Cincinnati Reds, you're not getting those days off. You might get a handful, right? So we know we're going to get those 17 days off. So that is helpful too. And sometimes, a lot of times, like Red Sox series, you'll get Saturday and Sunday off, things like that. So the Yankees and the Mets, you get that, where you wouldn't get that from other teams.
Well, let's talk about that. How much that has changed since you started doing baseball. It's the 20th season in baseball. 20 years ago, when you were doing baseball, they weren't 7 different streaming services doing the games. Now,
Yeah, I don't know. If I knew, I would have. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how much you guys are following with the industry at large. Baseball is at a crossroads. There's going to be a lockout next year, and it is all over the local media rights. Okay, regional sports networks, RSN, the Yes Network, SNY, and then all these FanDuels that just went bankrupt. So right now, Major League Baseball is producing the games and distributing the games for about half the league. And in 2028, Major League Baseball's goal, if they had it, it was completely up to them. They would have the rights, the local rights to every single team. They would produce all the games and they would sell it to like an Amazon or an Apple or somebody and be like, here, you own baseball. If you want to watch baseball on any night, you would go to this one service and you can watch any team, no blackouts, whatever. Now, what that would mean for me, I don't know, or for people at Yes. I'm skeptical personally, and I don't really think that they'll be able to pull that off because you have the haves and the have-nots in baseball. The Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, the Cubs, the Red Sox, maybe the Giants, like teams that own their RSNs and get a lot of money from them. There are levers that Major League Baseball can use, the luxury tax and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going to happen with Yes. I don't know what's going to happen with SNY, and baseball doesn't know. But this lockout. They're going to tell you it's about a salary cap. It's really not as much as it's about local rights and controlling the local rights for baseball.
It's crazy to think that the impact of our job, what we do, and creating the product is what's causing a league to now, malfunction in a way because they can't figure out how a monetization strategy, how to make money. But it's all because of revenue. There's more revenue to be made in different ways. You have different markets and different, like obviously Yankees are the most, one of the most biggest, brands in sports, like, and as much as the Dodgers are, as much as the other big teams are. So they don't have as many problems selling, the value.
But I mean, the games will be somewhere. Somebody's going to direct the game until AI takes over. Don't know when that's going to be.
Do you really think an AI can do your job?
I was skeptical. So I think they are probably pretty close now to being able to do it on like for spring training right now, we have 4 cameras, right? Like on smaller scale, probably close to being able to do it now. I'm not sure the top of the pyramid. I think the Super Bowl is going to be cut by an algorithm anytime soon. But like, I don't know where in that pyramid baseball will fall, right? So like, I'm sure some computer scientists would tell me we can do it right now. Maybe they can. I don't think it's going to happen for Yankees baseball or Mets baseball soon. It could, but the game will be somewhere in the next 10 years or whatever it is. The game will always be somewhere, but guys like us, camera guys will always be in demand, I think. Because I think they might come up with something. I think I would be replaced before.
They have robotic. The robotic camera guys can. I did an AFC Championship game where my camera was in the stadium and I was in the parking lot in a trailer, operating with a little, what they call a pan bar system. So I basically had like a monitor as my viewfinder and fake arms that mimicked like what a camera would look like, but there was zero lag. I can dial it all in and make it all work. And it functioned as a camera. And, I asked the guy who was setting it up, and he's like, well, with this connectivity, if you had enough, fiber lines in your house or whatever, you could do this from your home. So they are, but I don't know. Just because you could do something doesn't always necessarily mean that you should.
Right.
Will it make the product better?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's the top priority anymore, sadly, is making the product better.
Because a guy like you gets in the chair and every night, I know this about you. You want a clean show. You want to put out a good product. I mean, that is the best thing. And for me too, like, I don't want to get yelled at. You definitely don't show up to get yelled at. You show up to want to do a good job, because on the way home, when you can feel like we put on a good show, that's like one of the best feelings.
Yeah, it's great. And you want to work with people who want that too. Like, you can't teach or direct caring, right? Like, that's the first, like, right? The caring is the most important thing.
So, I mean, how is it with different crews, always different, you have a home show, you go through a streak of games where you're feeling good, you've worked through all that, and then you go on the road and then the streak of that. Is that difficult, the transition from?
Sometimes I'm sick of you guys, so it's nice to get on the road.
Oh,
occasionally. No, it's tough. Look, I've been doing it a long time, so you get to know a lot. Like, a lot of the camera guys in the different cities, they do the away show in these cities, right? So you're getting these guys that have done the same cameras for a long time. That said, fewer people now bring as many cameras on the road as we do. So a lot of times when the Yankees come into town, say we're bringing 7 cameras, the guys, the third, the 5th, 6th, and 7th camera person, that's the only baseball they're doing all year, right? And like, sometimes that can be frustrating. I have made jokes about like not wanting to teach a community college class every night that we're doing this.
So you say in some major league cities, because they're smaller markets, there's not a deep of a bullpen of people who broadcast.
Yeah, there is a need for technicians at every level. Video technicians, I think, is the most important department that's lacking. Video guys coming up. Skilled camera people, skilled tape operators. Because what's happening too is people used to be able to like work at the local level because the home and away shows were hiring enough people, and then maybe go on the weekend, go do their football package or whatever. The thing is now is, since nobody can really guarantee them as much work on like the away feeds or whatever, people are taking packages when they get offered them. So if you get offered, I mean, you probably have come across this, right? You get offered a football package where in the past, maybe I wouldn't do that. Maybe I just do some of those games because I know I'm going to get my 60 baseball games. That's not happening anymore. So a lot of the guys that used to do it now are traveling. So it's working on the road with different people is a challenge, and trying to like get them to shoot the show that you want. But you also have to understand what you are. I mean, we're regional baseball. We're rolling it. Look, if we had the money to travel every single guy, then your expectations could be a little higher. You could be a little more demanding, but it's not realistic. And look, people do a good job on the road. I'm not knocking the road crews, but like, it's just not as easy because they don't work with you every day. It's simple.
Yeah. So any questions? Anybody have any questions for Dan? What do we got?
That's a great question. So the way people like to describe it is like, producers in charge of editorial. I'm in charge of technical side of things, which is not quite as true because we have a technical manager and all that. So the producer is in charge of, he talks to the announcers more. They'll go over, like, in theory, like I was saying about how we're there every day. So like, we don't need to have a meeting every day to be like, oh, this is the pitcher, and we're all there 5 days ago when he started last time, right? But the producer deals with the guys back in the office more, the sales department, the promo department, traffic, all those different units, sits in more meetings, things like that, deals with the announcers a little bit more, works on the announcer schedule, talks to them a little bit more, goes up to the booth, kind of BS's with them a little bit. The producer also will call the replays during the game, and this is a give and take. Some producers are like, I am calling every replay. You can't talk to the announcers. We don't have that kind of situation. Like, I'll set up interesting shots sometimes, and I'll be like, Troy, watch B. It's on an ice or whatever. He'll be like, gotcha. And sometimes Troy will call like the first 3 looks, and I'll tag my owner. He's not going to be like, don't go to the replay if I didn't tell you to. But the producer's in charge of editorial. Like I was thinking about the graphics, they'll like work with the graphics guy more and like maybe send him a list, be like, hey, I want you to have these 5 things. Now, if you're doing a football show, like maybe your producer will send you everything they want with 100 graphics, right? You want to put people in place that can do their jobs. So you don't want to be holding their hand on every little thing, but producer's kind of managing them a little bit more. He'll talk to the AD before the game where he'll be like, hey, make sure, like, obviously do the stuff that you think we should have, but hey, last time they played just make sure you have these 7 flashbacks or whatever. So it's more editorial, and mine is more like what you see on the air. And I think baseball is more of a director sport than a producer sport. And Troy would agree. We've talked about this a lot. So like baseball, you're always replaying the last thing that happened. Okay. In basketball, I found it to be more of a producer sport because something would happen and the producer would line up all their tape machines and they'll be like, okay, on a whistle, you're doing this, right? Okay. But then play will continue to happen and they'll have to adjust. And they'll be like, right, you keep that cued on that original play, but now you go cue this and we're going to show this and then this. So there's discretion in what you replay. Baseball, you can choose the angles and stuff, but there's not as much choice in what like play you're actually going to show. You kind of have to live it a little bit to really see the differences, but that's kind of the general breakdown of it. The producer is technically in charge of the show.
Like what goes on the air. And
yeah, I mean, he would call him every day. Okay, I'm not getting those calls, right? I always tell people, and I like the director part of it because there is a certain aspect of getting able to just kind of roll in and cut the show. You don't deal with as much other stuff and other departments.
As much of the corporate stuff. You're more.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Like, I go to the meetings, I do all that. I try to be involved in stuff, but just like, so Flip's big joke, he used to say it, it's not a joke actually, that he hates directors, okay? Because he was a producer, okay? And he was like, I hate directors, but you need a good one, right? He knew you needed one, but he would be like, oh, directors like to think it's their show. And it's not their show, it's my show. And I'd be like, yeah, but you're not deciding what we show. We'd be, go back and forth about it. But the real answer is it's got to be teamwork. And like when you do as many games as we do, and I'm very lucky because I like the producer at the Mets, Greg, he was great with me. And then me and Troy, we can communicate with a look, right? So we did our first spring training game on Saturday. I haven't seen, we got dinner once in the winter or whatever. I haven't seen these guys in 6 months. We do so many games together. It was funny. It just sort of like it just happened, right? And I'll just sort of glance at it. Like we can communicate with that kind of like it has to be that fast and that type of communication.
Now you'll be traveling for all the road shows this year too?
So Yes is doing a handful remotely. That's a whole other thing.
So let's talk about that. So in years past, Dan would be directing the home shows and then be on the road, traveling with the team for the majority.
For all of them, yeah, for all of them.
For all of those games, wherever they were going. Now, for certain games.
Last year was the first year they did it. So there's this whole thing they call cloud control. It's not really cloud control because you're like, there are versions of it, but there's no real like software processing happening in the cloud. All they're doing is you still have a truck on site, okay? Camera guys are on site. Most of the tape guys are on site. But what they do is they take your monitor while on the truck, and over the internet, basically, they send it to a monitor like this. So it'll be like, you can lay it out however you want. So like for spring training, it'll be like 16 boxes, and you can put whatever you want in there. Problem is there's latency. So there's delay. There's a delay, right? And there's a delay in my voice getting to the stadium. There's a delay in the camera getting back to us. And in basketball, maybe you can get away with it a little more. Baseball, like the milliseconds matter. Like Max Fried, great pickoff move, okay? Guy on first base, you're hanging on high third because you want to see the lead. Is he going to throw over? You literally have to wait till his leg is in the air to cut to center field. You can't do that in the cloud. Like yesterday was funny. So the game last night, there's a foul ball straight back. And sometimes
you directed yesterday?
I did last night, yeah.
From Stanford?
From Stanford, yeah. So there's a foul ball straight back. And sometimes when you're watching your monitors, a foul ball directly back looks like it's in play. So sometimes you'll take the cut there, right? And every once in a while, the TD will save you. I don't want the TD saving me a lot.
Who
but
the
the
TD
delay, it's a guy named Jack. It's not a guy we work with all the time. He did a good job. I'm not blaming him. But so I said, oh, take two. And then it didn't cut. And I go, oh, thanks for saving me. And then we saw the cut. Like, that's how bad the delay was. So we all started laughing. We're like, I'm like, thanks for saving me. And then I'm like, oh, he didn't even save me. No, he didn't save me. Like, it was so delayed that I thanked him for not taking the cut. And then we saw the cut. So, like, it's not a great way of doing it. I don't want to criticize it too much because the powers that be have decided we're going to do it. And there are lifestyle factors that are better. I have young kids. I like being home for some of them. We're doing about 25 road games from Stanford. And going back to when we were talking about traveling, I mean, the flip side of that is you're not going to some of the cities that you don't have a great time.
Right. And you said you're a family man, you have kids. It is kind of better when you can still do your job
From home,
and not make the family sacrifice you being away because your job is to direct the game, not to travel and do all the other stuff. Your job is
it's nice. I like it until we're on the air, is what I like to tell people. I like being home. Then the 3 hours are rough. You're never going to walk out of the control room feeling like you had a great show. You're
in
just,
a
you're
cloud-
just in a clown show.
in a
You're
clown show.
just not. You're just not. And we've come up with ways to smooth it out and do our best. But luckily with Yes, and look, some teams don't travel at all, right? But we still go to the big city. Like we're always going to go to the Red Sox. We're going to go to the Orioles. We're going to go to the Blue Jays. We're going to go to the Astros, you know, and then we're going to go to the cities that are attached to them. We're going to go to the first road trip. We're going to go to the last road trip. Like Astros this year is tied to Boston and Dallas. We're not going to go to Houston and then come home. Like we're going to do the whole trip, you know, and I find that valuable too, not just for the lifestyle part. That's where you see, like, I'm not friends with the players. The players aren't my buddies or anything, but you do, like, you're in their space, you're respectful. You do get to see the different cliques on the team, which helps you in, like, the Aaron Judge 60-61 there. We're on Rizzo, right? It's no secret that they're buddies, right? But sometimes, like, you can get a situation where somebody's up or something good's gonna happen. You're like, who should I ISO in the dugout? Who should I isolate? And you're like, all right, well, I've seen these dudes hanging out playing cards on the plane. Like, I'm serious. Like, maybe they're buddies. So maybe this guy will give you a bigger reaction, you know, because they're pals, right? So there is those little things that you lose when you don't go. So I'm thankful that we still go to most of them.
I always, like, we talked in the class about, like, being storytellers, and you're trying to capture and put people in the atmosphere of a game. It's very hard to put people in an atmosphere of a game when you're not in that atmosphere.
It is hard, and you have to, because even when you're in the truck and you're outside, like, you still go inside, you still walk around, you do, like, feel that energy. So, like, your job is to not make that go away. But yeah, when we're doing West Coast games that are on late here, and it's 2 a.m, you know, that's weird, right? You look up and you're like, oh, that's weird. Like, normally you're on local time, like, it is, like, you know, it's late back east, but, like, that's strange, you know. But it's the way of the business, and it's, like I said, I'm happy to be home for some of it too.
Anybody else question?
So I don't, I mean, so Fox does the postseason. I don't do the postseason. I would like to. It is weird for us to watch those, especially like in our building, right, in Yankee Stadium. That's, so the early rounds, I think Fox does a phenomenal job with baseball, right? They do a great job. The early rounds of the playoffs, though, are funny because they actually have fewer cameras than we do for a regular Yankee game. When you get to the World Series, that's when they're in the LCS to a certain extent. That's where they're blowing it out, right? That's where they have all the extra resources. And I like to watch those to be like, oh, where did they put a camera that I can't, you know? And they have 2 handheld guys on the field, and they get a lot of access that we don't get. They can walk through the dugout. They can do all that stuff. So it's funny watching the early rounds being like, oh, they don't have even the same looks that we do. It is weird watching it to do the whole season and then be done right when the postseason starts is a strange thing. You know, I know it's strange for Michael Kay, like strange for the announcers too. It's just the nature of the business. I know we for the World Series last year, me and Troy went to a game, and I brought my wife, he brought a buddy, but we ended up sitting next to each other and just BSing the whole game. And my wife was like, "Is this what it's like when you guys are working together?" And I'm like, "Well, we do the game also." But like, yeah, kind of. Like, yeah.
Good. You had a question?
Okay, great question. So most networks and everybody they hire. So there's a few ways. For the college sports, you could go through the SID's office for the universities. That's the sports information directors. They're basically the media relations arm of the teams, right? And so I dealt with them a lot when I was doing Oregon football as a runner. Now they televise all kinds of sports, right? I would look up who like the volleyball SID is. Like go look on like Big Ten Network or whatever. Pace obviously doesn't have it, but look at the different networks, see if there's a game around. Try to find like those Olympic sports, maybe even. Reach out to the SID there. Say, hey, can you put me in touch with somebody, the producer of the volleyball game, right? I want to see if they want to help. You can start with the SID. You can go to the crewers. So there's companies that crew, hire the camera people, all the below the line. I don't like that term, but all the technicians, right? The biggest one in the country, I'm telling you flat out, called Program Production. Okay, reach out to them, bombard them. I don't care. Reach out to them. Tell them you're in. Look them up online. You know, you can find somebody. They usually, if you're resourceful, you can find online like they break it up by region. Try to find a person. And I'll tell you another story. When I was at Oregon and I had a job offer from ABC, I was like, I didn't have the job offer yet. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I looked up who the production executives at CBS Sports were. I found some names. I made up email addresses. I didn't know the construct. Was it first initial, last name? Was it at my account? Whatever.
Yeah.
I literally made up email addresses. One of them got through. They put me in touch with the executive producer. I got an interview. I got a job offer. So like try to find a way to cut through there. The crewer is one way. The SID's office is another way. And then the networks themselves. Look for the operations people at networks. Okay. So like if you look at CBS Sports, right? They do a lot of and look who has volume. Okay. NBC Sports is in Stanford, right? They have a lot of college basketball. I don't know if they need people in Stanford, but like just go on network sites, crewing sites, and the SID's offices. Try to find like mid-level people that like aren't getting bombarded with this kind of request. Don't go to the top, don't necessarily go to the bottom. You can find those kind of like, I wouldn't go to vice presidents necessarily, manager, director of, operations kind of people. And even if you can, maybe you find an email address for like a technical side, and that's not what you want to do, but they can put you in touch with other people. So those are 3 real places to start.
Pay attention to every big show usually has put dot credits too. Like,
I'd hear Webby's name at the end of the World Series and be like, yeah, that's a good point. Listen for names there. And I have found that most producers and directors will not just blow you off. They might not be able to get to your job. They would probably be able to point you in the right direction. I don't think, as long as you're, like I said, there's a lot of just kind of being normal, for lack of a better term, about things, like to sort of be normal about it.
Yeah, well, when you can find yourself and get access to the areas and you're there, just be helpful. Try to be of service.
Be proactive.
Be
If somebody asks you to do something once and you're there another day, just do it. Even if they don't need it. Like I remember I went and got something, they didn't need it, but hey, you listened the day before or whatever. Trying to think of other ways in. Yeah, I mean, I think those are 3 good places to start, I think. The teams, the SID's office, the crewer, and the network.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I've thought about that a lot. I don't really know so when I was a runner at ABC, I don't know. I just tried to be around and helpful, and I got lucky too. I mean, timing, positioning, and luck. That's what my dad likes to say, right? So there's a lot of luck in it too. Like I got very fortunate in that Oregon was good at that time, and then ABC, when I was a runner for the national championship game, they wanted to have a backup interface for the graphics machine, and like they're like, okay, great idea. Like, who the hell are we gonna get to do it? And I'm like, well, I'll do it. I didn't know, right? So how do you make yourself stand out as a runner? I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question, especially when you're doing it like for a network now. And I feel like I got a little lucky too, because when I was doing it, there were fewer people who were trying to do it and like knew about it. All the things we said, personable, and then don't be afraid to ask like for advice. People love giving advice, and people love talking about themselves. Okay, seriously. So hey, do you mind telling me how you started? And I will say, my career list there. One good thing about this industry, pretty much everybody started at the bottom. Like I don't know any producer and director that wasn't like a runner, right? So we want to help, I wish I had a more tangible, do this and they'll love you and you'll rise above everybody else. Be proactive. Don't be told the same thing twice. Try to anticipate needs, all those things. Buddy up with talent. At the Super Bowl one year, I was working as a runner at the Super Bowl pregame show in San Diego. And I worked all day and I was supposed to be done at the night. I'm like, no, I'm going to come back. I'm going to help with the feature. I'm all gung ho. And the producer was like, I need you to sit on that bench so it's not cold when Melissa Stark gets here. And I was deflated, but I warmed that bench. Right? So, just do that, I guess.
Anybody else?
Okay, so the entire operation is IP based now. Okay, when I was starting out, it's more patches, right, and routers that way. The entire backbone of the truck is IP based. Okay, so our truck engineers, who we could not live without, they are the guys that make sure the truck works. They are well versed in networking. Okay, so if you're interested in that, you should reach out to Game Creek Video. Okay, they are our truck vendor. They have an apprentice program. They are always looking and training people. And that you have to have some of the tech side of the broadcast knowledge, but more and more over the years, because every truck they roll out now is all IP based. Okay. And you have to know a lot about like different compression standards, different like SMPTE, like different fiber standards, and a lot of networking. Because now, I mean, these guys, I remember our truck engineer didn't make it because of a storm or something, and they rigged him up at home, and I'd be like, I was messing with him. I'm like, Evan, change that monitor, and he'd do it from home. I'm like, no, change that monitor, right? So learn your networking. I mean, it's really that IT infrastructure is that's the knowledge base that even if you're cloud or AI or whatever, that's gonna be there. But I would look into the Game Creek's apprentice program, and they hire interns every year. We usually have a truck intern that's around and learning that kind of it, and it's interesting stuff. Yeah. I don't like camera. So first of all, they've been trying to do camera since the 70s. Okay. Everybody likes to act like it's new. A lot of the toys in baseball these days, I really like the drone. I don't love dirt cam. The umpire cam, I know people like it. I'm not as big of a fan of it, and Troy's not as big of a fan of it as other people. I find it jittery. I mean, the umpire's not like, they've done things to stabilize it. The thing that gets me when we do it as a replay, especially, you almost can't. People like it real time. It's hard to do as a real time replay. You never know when the shot's going to be bad. So like when I'm watching my monitors, if I call somebody into a shot, I see when he moves. When we do the replay, I know when I have to get off. They know when he moved. You don't know necessarily. I guess you can watch it, but like, the movements are so like jittery. That said, I know people like it, right? We don't put it out ever, but like TBS will put it out, or TNT. So sometimes we'll get a feed of it. And when we get a feed of it, we'll show it. We'll replay it. It's not, I'm a very like X's and O's kind of guy. I think the access in baseball is lacking. Like I would love, like, I don't think dirt cam is going to move the needle. I don't think ump cam is going to move the needle. I think access is going to move the needle a little bit. I don't like the interviews they do in game.
What do you mean by access?
I think mics on guys. Like, wouldn't you love to hear like when a pitching coach goes out to the mound, what they're saying? Right? I don't think we're close to that. Even if it's not real time, maybe you play it back on a tape machine or whatever. I think that kind of access. Like, I don't love the interviews in game.
You don't get a lot of, there used to be some sounds of the game.
There's some of that where you'll mic a guy and you'll play it back. I think we're getting back to that a little bit.
I like, but you're right, because there is a lot of, because it is that type of sport where there is a lot of strategy being put into play. Communicate, that's why there's signs and everything else. So get somebody to communicate some of that stuff that's happening and talk about it and getting more insight into that of why it's going down, because sometimes even the announcers sometimes have to pick up on weird stuff from a different view. So I see that.
But yeah, I personally don't love it. Do you like it? It's okay. I mean,
it's a game you do.
Yeah, no, you're like, look, the one thing about this business also, it's totally subjective. Everybody's got their own opinion on this stuff. We have a more classic, like, I know there's a lot of like, cinema is kind of a buzzword you hear now in a lot of sports, right? The shallow depth of field cameras, cinematic, right? What makes a good movie? Good characters, right? Well-defined, a good setting, right? You're not going to make a good movie out of camera tricks. It's the story is what makes it a good movie. And so we try to fall back on that principle. That's not to say, like I said, I like the drone. I like the super high frame rate cameras. I don't think a lot of the bells and whistles that they're using in some of the bigger shows now are necessarily fantastic.
I mean, those tools, all those things, baseball is, we say cinematic, it's not really, it's a storied sport. Everything is, so you're trying to tell everything with a story, an element, and using different things like positioning the cameras, having slow-mo, having the robos, having
the soap. I mean, basically you're there every day. Like I've said a million times, right? So I'll tell you some of the storylines. So I think of it as a TV series more than a TV show. So we're going to try to set some things up early in the season, right? So for the Yankees, one of the interesting storylines is Ben Rice is going to be playing first base. They re-signed Paul Goldschmidt. A lot of that is for him to kind of mentor him a little bit. So early in the season, whenever I can get a shot of the two of them talking together on the bench, I will show it. And I guarantee you there will be some articles written about it and stuff, because it is a storyline, but we're going to emphasize it, right?
So you're going into you're giving these guys a heads up already. Huh?
Yeah, you're going to see that. There's another way.
You're getting a heads up already. If you watch a Yankee game, you're going to You be sure
But
to
it's,
say,
I mean, that's just, it's like, so you try to set those things up early in the season. Last year was the torpedo bats, our first,
oh,
our ESPN at opening day. So our first game, they scored like 20 runs. They hit like 5 home runs in the first inning. We're like, can we start the season here? But that obviously was something we said, but it's funny because then it died and you don't talk about it anymore. But like those kind of things, you like, so to the point about the story, like baseball, you're there every day. There's always a layer of something going on. And what happened, like the rain delay 10 days ago affects 10 days later because they have the taxi squad and who's in the pen and moving guys around. So you do always have that kind of stuff to talk about.
anybody else? Go ahead.
Not much. Troy will sometimes, like Troy will talk to Booney every day. We do this thing called Name That Yankee. It's like our trivia thing, whatever. Troy goes out and shows it to Booney and stuff. Boone is the only manager. When I was with the Mets, Terry Collins was always really cool with us. Boone is pretty, like, I think because he did TV also, like, I think he knows we're not the enemy necessarily. We'll see some of the guys like at the hotel bar after the game sometimes, because like the coaches are the ones that hang out. The players all go to their rooms and stuff. So a little bit, not a ton. They might with the announcers. They do with the announcers. I mean, so like with the announcers sometimes. I mean, like Michael Kay is obviously a professional and has relationships with these guys. That's more his, like, you know, he's originally a reporter. So he's getting that kind of like those sort of reporter like instincts and stuff. That's more him. Yeah. And he'll let us know, but he'll be like, oh, hey guys, I talked to so and so, and he'll give us the heads up and we'll try, and then we try to think of the best way to show it or whatever. But yeah, it's probably the announcers, Meredith in the clubhouse, those guys on the Mets and Steve Gelbs, you know, the guys that are the people that are there, you know. And other directors might be more like, I take more of a hands-off approach. Some directors probably love schmoozing with those guys, you know, and want it more. To each their own. Yeah.
So you said you don't have the home opener this year.
Netflix took it.
Netflix took it.
Yeah.
So then what's your first
We have a very strange start to the season. So it's in San Francisco. And Netflix took Wednesday night, and then Thursday's an off day. We're gonna do a setup day. And then Friday, the Giants want to do a real home opener, so they're doing a day game. And then Saturday is Fox, and there's no game Sunday. So we're going to San Francisco for 4 days for one game.
and then come
And
back?
then go to Seattle. It worked out for me. I'm from the Bay Area. My wife's from Seattle.
Oh, so
So this is great for us. But yeah, we're going to San Francisco for like 4 days for one game. It's a very strange start to the season. But that's where I give Yes credit. Like opening day, we're going to go. Like you don't want technical issues. You don't want things not to look good. You want to start the season on the right foot. And I would have understood if they were like, guys, one game in SF. No, you know. But we're going and we're starting the season the right way. It's a strange start to the season. It's
Yeah.
weird doing the second game. That happened last year. So.
Anybody else? Oh, we got a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't really know other than what I said before, where like I saw that it was like doing play by play, but with like a visual language. Like I was like, this is really cool. You're the one in charge of what people see, right? And you're like Flip likes to say, like you're creating people's memories. Like you probably don't realize it, but like you don't really remember Jeter's whatever. You remember how Webby showed you Jeter's whatever, right? You're literally filtering these moments through the director. And like that's pretty cool. And like that's fun. I don't know what about it stood out to me. I think I liked that there's a start and an end, that you're on the air for 3 hours. I like the adrenaline of the live. You don't get a second chance. I like that when it's over, you walk away, you feel good or you don't feel good. But like baseball, there's always a game tomorrow. I don't know. It just spoke to me. Go ahead. Oh, a doubleheader? Oh, they're the worst. I'm probably the only person that wishes they still had that 7-inning rule that they did around COVID
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's toughest for other than just like a stamina perspective, like it's toughest for graphics because the graphics is always like, especially when it's not a split doubleheader, when it's like 20 minutes, like the game will end and then on the press box PA, they'll be like start time, game 2, this time, right? And it's always a scramble to like get the lineup and get it all inputted into the system and get all their stats updated and stuff. They're long days. And I will say one of the challenges as a director, and it's tough sometimes, but I'm talking for 3 hours every night, okay? There's a lot of bad jokes. There's a lot of shtick to it, right? It's almost like doing a radio show because like, we're talking to like 60 people, but like I don't really see them. But like when you are doing, and you're in those moments of the doubleheader and stuff, and I don't always succeed, but you got to try to like, if you start being mopey, it's going to affect everybody else. And I don't always succeed. I can mope with the best of them.
You did,
but like,
you did something cool last year. You had like a question of the.
we started doing, you got to be able to do the game first before you. But I started doing like get to know you games. Like it was just started like off a random thing. I'm just like, Vinny, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? All right. So he answers, and then I'm like, all right, we'll go around the room, right? And everybody really liked it. And it turned into this, like, what people are texting me topic ideas. And then it turned into this, like, I played game show host, and I do this whole lead in, and we did like first concert, first car. And like, we wouldn't do it in crucial moments of the game. I don't want to sound unprofessional. You can only do that when you're really with people that are like locked in. And you don't need to tell the A crew when it's an important moment.
No.
You feel already pulling in the right direction. But there's other times.
But I love that you took something and you weaved it through the game at the right time that allowed everybody to just take a breath.
It was stressful at times. I'm looking at the crew sheet. I'm like, we got 50 people here. It's the fourth inning. I got to get to the like. And then it became a lot of pressure because people were like, what's our topic the next day? But a lot of people came up to me offline more than I would have expected, just to be like what you just said. Like, thanks. Like, we're here every day. You do a good job. We do a good job. But it's nice just to like ratchet down the tension a little bit, which is part of the role. You know, like I said, you're the one talking the most. So you're the one setting the tone, and it's hard, you know, when you're tired or whatever it is, and it's a bad game, and I don't always succeed, but you got to try to like
I know
keep everybody.
Sometimes it's weird when I'm in it's a long game or it's a critical moment in the game and there's stuff going on and you have to pay attention to a bunch of different things and you're on headsets and you're like looking over there and then you realize there's still like 70,000, 50,000 people here too. Like, you know, there's a ton of people around you. And you still have to maintain your focus and not be distracted that you're in a stadium environment with everybody going on at any moment and anything can happen anywhere. That's the thing of baseball.
Going nuts around you.
Yeah,
or
you can be focused. That's the
hey, camera guy. Yeah.
Well, not only that, it's just that the focus of the game could be anywhere. A lot of times you're focusing here, but the runner could be making a move, and then all of a sudden the action is drawn to that. It's always paying attention to so many different things. And I don't know how you do an amazing job of seeing it all. I mean, you're directing a show with more cameras than most of the people that work with. So
yeah,
you know,
and more tape machines. I mean, we have a lot of sources, but
more elements, more you have to manage.
Yeah, it just I don't know if it's my ADD or what. I was always good at like, and you got to listen. That's the thing too. When you're directing, more than talking, listening is just as important to the announcers, the graphics people. Like sometimes I hear everything. Unfortunately, I'll hear the graphics people talking to each other out of this year and like know exactly what's coming. Like. You are watching a lot of things at once, but it was always just it made sense to me. You're kind of like putting a puzzle together, just like with these visuals.
So everybody has to listen to you. So guys, dial in you.
Yeah,
what do you dial into your comm in your
So I'm talking to all the camera people. So I know I only open to the camera people, and anybody who wants can listen to me. So all the tape people are listening to me. All the camera people are listening to me. Video technicians, the engineers, the audio people. The announcers when I talk to them, but not all the time.
So you don't really key into anybody else. You only key.
I am an open source, and whoever wants to listen can listen. I always have to assume my mic is going out to anybody and everybody. So some of my bad jokes are heard by a lot of people.
Anybody else? Are we ready for the break and eat catering? All right, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thank you.
Dan,
of course.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Sure.
Spending time in the class.
Yeah.
That's Dan Barr, director of the Yankees on Yes Network. Thanks for your time there. Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Post-game meal. Let's go eat.